Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Well, obviously, this week, Aston Martin have confirmed that they've gone into an official partnership or sponsorship deal with Red Bull Racing, which will see their name, on the official title of the team from 2018 onwards. Now, this has come as like no sort of surprise because Aston Martin have been in a deal with Red Bull for about 18 months now, probably about round 4 of the 2016 season, that where a partnership was confirmed, where they were building this hypercar. I think it was the AMRB 001. There's some sort of like hypercar with Adrian Newey and obviously some of the guys at Red Bull Racing, Aston Martin, teaming together to make this absolute hyper, this amazing beast of a car. So obviously this week Aston Martin are getting more involved in Formula One. Obviously just becoming a sponsor on the shirts, and now becoming an official title sponsor. Now, recently this week, obviously it's been confirmed that Renault will be powering McLaren, leaving Toro Rosso, and obviously Honda coming into power Toro Rosso. Rumours are that that Honda will be powering Red Bull at a certain point, because Renault have said about from 2018 onwards they will not be powering the Red Bull cars. So obviously that means Red Bull will have to try and find another engine supplier. Likely will be Honda for a couple of years as Toro Rosso, obviously with them being the same team more or less. And then obviously from the new engine regulations from 2021 onwards, then Red Bull, chances are, will go to Aston Martin, who have been heavily linked to supply them with engines, because they have become really interested, which is brilliant to see, because I think we were saying a couple of debate shows ago about how we need more car manufacturers involved in Formula One, whether that's teams, sponsors, engine deals. It's a car manufacturer sport. I mean, obviously with teams like Renault coming in as well. Obviously we're having like some Lotus as well. I mean, you've got your Force Indias and your Williamses and your Haas's, who are obviously very good teams, of course. I mean, it's brilliant that we have them there. But for me, I want to see your Jaguars back. I want to see Porsches in, Audis in, Lamborghini, Pagani. How good would that be as well? Audi. So all these big car manufacturers, I want them into Formula One, and obviously Aston Martin is definitely one of them. So what do I think is the future? Is the future of this deal? Now, obviously, I'm on my own. Unfortunately, Lyle's ditched me. He's ditched me, guys. Unbelievable. So yes, I'm on my own for today. So I'm just basically going to give my opinion on what I think of the deal, and what does this mean for the future of what for Aston Martin in the world of Formula One. So obviously we all know how expensive it can be to run a Formula One team these days. We've seen obviously loads of teams coming in and obviously dying out the last minute. Even from the early days, such as Stewart Grand Prix, Prost Grand Prix, more recently as HRT, Caterham, Virgin Marussia, and obviously I think back in the day, obviously had like your Minardis, your Spikes and stuff like that. Obviously and your Jaguars, of course, and your Jaguars. Obviously they were involved. So I've seen Aston Martin coming into Formula One as well as like a proper as a not really as a team, more or less. Obviously I will get onto that in a second, but it is really nice to see. Now, do I think Aston Martin will one day have their own team? Now, this is something that I like. It's not big in the rumour paddock, but I have a funny feeling that Aston Martin may one day buy out Red Bull Racing. Now, Red Bull is kind of like the Ferrari, I would say, because Ferrari used to always threat to quit Formula One. Now, Red Bull have done that recently, especially in 2014, when nothing went their way. 3 wins all season, coming off the back of 4 consecutive drivers and constructors championships, obviously causing Sebastian Vettel to leave the team after a winless season, which back then was like, Sebastian Vettel winless? What on earth? So obviously Red Bull are always threatening to quit here and there, and one day I think Matt is going to go, right, I can't say anything else in this anymore, I'm going to pack my bags and leave. But also as well, he's got something to fall back on, because as like I said, if one day he was to go, right, I'm going to sell this team, I'm going to do something else now, he can go to Aston Martin and go, right guys, here's an offer, do you want to buy this team? And I think one day Aston Martin, if the price is right, and obviously depending on how Formula 1 is, then in the future, I think Aston Martin will end up buying the team out and having their own Aston Martin Grand Prix. Now, Aston Martin were actually rumoured to buy out Force India, if you remember that. I think this was about 2015, for the 2016 season, I believe. There was, rumours that I think it was either supply the engines at first, then to sponsor them, and then apparently there was a big rumour that they were going to buy Force India. And I think that at the same point, Vijay Mallya was under a bit of hot water, let's say, I think it was about taxes or whatever. So obviously there was big rumours that he was going to sell the team. Aston Martin were linked with them. They said no. all them rumours died down. Then obviously a couple of, fast forward a few months, Aston Martin get their hands in with Red Bull Racing. Now this caused a lot of controversy as well, because Red Bull released their official merchandise ahead of the 2016 season, and then about 4 races later, when they got announced the deal with Aston Martin, they then released obviously Aston Martin branded T-shirts and everything. So it was like, all right, okay, I've wasted all my money there. So obviously, playing it cool, Red Bull. Playing it cool. I must admit. So I think maybe one day Aston Martin may buy out Red Bull Racing. It would be brilliant to see. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I like the fact Red Bull's in and they're doing well, but I would prefer a car manufacturer, especially one like Aston Martin as well. Absolutely brilliant British driving history as well. Up there with obviously some of the elite cars as well. I mean, obviously when you see one on the road, I mean Vanquishers and stuff. Your DB10s, DB9s, James Bond fans. Any James Bond fans out there? Obviously they would love to see Aston Martin in the world of Formula One. So, but it is likely chance that Aston Martin will supply the engines for Red Bull at one stage. Obviously, I would say from 2021 and beyond. So I think they've got the sponsorship deal. Had the logo on the shirt and whatever on the car. Next season, it's going to be a title sponsor. Then it will be the engines. So their next up really is going to be an official official team. So, I mean, we've seen this before. We've seen it with Red Bull. We've seen Red Bull sponsor teams. Sauber, for instance, obviously back in the day when Sauber, we're focusing them on the cars and stuff. Red Bull having other forms of sponsorships in other forms of motorsport. Like rallying, that obviously have their own sponsors in rallying and stuff as well. So even in the low ranks of I think it was Formula 2. I think it was back then, more Formula 3000. I think it was back, I think it was like 97, 98. I think it was back back in them days. So Red Bull pretty much have the sponsor. Obviously didn't supply the engines because obviously they weren't a car manufacturer, but eventually bought their own team, being Jaguar. And I think Aston Martin will obviously end up doing that one day. So obviously let us know your opinions in the comment section below. Will Aston Martin buy Red Bull Racing? But also, what does that prove for the future of their current drivers? So this is kind of like the next topic I'm going to be talking about really is the future of Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, if obviously when Aston Martin have a bigger say in what goes on in the world of Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, if you want to call it that early. But so obviously these two drivers have been linked with some really big things in the future. Max Verstappen 20 years old actually today. Happy birthday Max Verstappen, by the way. I forgot about that. Happy birthday Max Verstappen, 20 years old today. How mad is that? He's younger than me, and he's younger than Lyle. And he's in the world of Formula 1, and we're talking to you. That's bad. That's really bad, guys. Anyways, so obviously, happy birthday, Max Verstappen. Don't celebrate too much. Hope you're watching there for the video. If you are, subscribe, like the video as well, comment. Are you happy with Aston Martin deal? No. So obviously, Max Verstappen, tip for big things. Daniel Ricciardo, very talented driver. Obviously, one of the most bubbliest characters you can meet in the Formula 1 paddock. He's brilliant, isn't he, guys? He's absolutely fantastic as well. And obviously, I think from 2019, I think both their contracts are out. I think Max Verstappen's ends in 2019, and Ricciardo's is 2018, I think, or it might be the other way around. I'm not too sure, but I believe that's the order of their contracts. So I think Aston Martin might have a bit of a say in what goes on in terms of the drivers. Now, I'm not talking about Max Verstappen here, for instance. I would say more on the Daniel Ricciardo side, because obviously Daniel Ricciardo is all people could say at this stage he could have passed his best. I think he'll be in his 30s at this stage, so maybe just hitting his 30s. So obviously maybe could say approaching the prime, but maybe not in a car that can show off that talent. So maybe they'll have to say what happens with Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen side of the garage. Now I found this interesting. Now I didn't know this until I was doing my research. In 2009 for the 24-hour Le Mans, a certain man, a Dutchman called Jos Verstappen, drove for them at the 2009 Le Mans, 24-hour Le Mans. Now, obviously, he has got connections with Aston Martin, which I find a bit funny, because he had a massive say in Max Verstappen going to Red Bull. Of course he did. He supported match shit. He supported help Marco, Christian Horner, just to try and say, look, Daniel, get him out, get my kid in, because how fast Max Verstappen flew through the through the younger the younger rankings. He was in Formula 4. I think it was in Formula Euro. I think it was. And then obviously straight into Formula. No, sorry, it was Formula 3000. Then it was straight into Formula 1. It was like, whoa, hang on a second. I remember 1 minute he signed with the junior program. Then he won his first race in Formula 3000. Then he was signed with Toro Rosso. I was like, who? Who is he? How old? 17? Wow. So obviously Jos Verstappen had a massive say in his career in Formula 1, obviously getting him into Red Bull Racing. So maybe he's bringing in Aston Martin because maybe he has connections there because of that drive. And maybe say, right, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to go down. I think Jos has a bigger say in the team than what people think. He's probably just there, right, supporting Verstappen, supporting his own son. But I think there's more than meets the eye with our Jos. So I don't know about that, but I think there's some sort of I think Max Verstappen's seat is going to be safe. I can't see him at Ferrari. It would be nice to see him like that, or at Mercedes for that instance, or maybe even Renault, because I think Renault one day is going to be up there as well. One day, hopefully McLaren, but we beg to differ. So maybe I think Max Verstappen's seat, I think it's going to be more or less safe at this side of the team. He'll know that one day Red Bull is going to be back to where it wants to be. Maybe Aston Martin Grand Prix, I don't know. Aston Martin Racing, Aston Martin Limited, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it could be Red Bull Aston Martin one day. Now that would be very controversial. Daniel Ricciardo, he's got his sights on a World Championship, at least one. Of course, yes. I think every driver at the top does. Even the young drivers, well, such as like your Ockens and obviously your Verstappens as well. Maybe even your Lance Strolls. But Ricciardo eventually he's going to get very, very frustrated to the point of, well, hang on a second, I've been with Toro Rosso, HRT, he started off with HRT in 2011, 2012 and 2013 he was with the junior Red Bull team in Toro Rosso, so he's working his way up. 2014, coming off the back of obviously 4 consecutive Constructors' Championships for Red Bull, he's like, things are looking up for me. 2014, 3 wins, obviously got his first win, brilliant, so obviously, that bar's been raised. 2015 was when everything just fell apart for well, not only for him, but for Red Bull Racing as well. It was an absolutely awful season. 2016, yeah, okay, the car's competitive, but he had a 19-year-old on his case, or an 18-year-old going on 19-year-old, so it was like, oh dear, this isn't good for Daniel Ricciardo. He had all the bad luck in the world. This season, it's worked out better for him, but Daniel Ricciardo can't keep with this form because obviously having a team like Max Verstappen, the limelight is going to be on Verstappen because it's like he's going to be the next big thing. Obviously we're all gracing it, we're all milking it a bit for Verstappen. So obviously Ricciardo's going to be like, well, what about me? So obviously he'll eventually get sick of this, even though that these two are buddies at the moment. But once Max Verstappen ends up challenging for a championship, maybe even Ricciardo at the same time, fireworks is definitely going to be setting off, guys. There is going to be, smoke around. There's going to be flames. It's going to get heated between the two Red Bull guys. And eventually, Ricciardo is going to go, sod this, I'm going elsewhere. Maybe Ferrari, maybe Mercedes, and maybe Gino take the challenge to Verstappen on another level, which might happen as well. And obviously, maybe Aston Martin might go, right, okay, we want this guy in, and if you get this guy in from our obviously their own drivers program, and get rid of Ricciardo, we'll give you engines a bit cheaper. So obviously Red Bull will go, right, okay, Ricciardo, well, I wouldn't say Ricciardo, but let's say, right, if one of them had to go, I would honestly think that they would choose Ricciardo. Of course, I'm jumping into things here by saying all this, but this is just what I'm thinking and what might happen in the future. So obviously, I think Aston Martin have a really, really big say in what goes on behind the scenes of Red Bull now that they are official title sponsor. I mean, Infinity was the title sponsor, but then obviously when Renault, when they sort of said, right, okay, we're not branding our engine as Renault, we're branding it as Tag Heuer. I think Infinity was a bit, hang on a second, what kind of crack's that? So obviously buggered off to Renault, and maybe even get Nissan involved, because obviously Nissan, Infinity, Renault, it's all owned by the same people. So I think get Nissan engines. I'm sure Red Bull would love that. But obviously, as always, guys, let us know your opinions in the comment section below about what you think about anything I've said in the first part, whether that's obviously Aston Martin taking over Red Bull, about the drivers as well, the future of Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, very much appreciated as well. With the end of the season almost on the horizon, it's this time of the season where a lot of teams will be confirming their drivers for next season. Now, a couple has came up, sprung up from the ground in recent weeks, including this week as well. One of them we've already mentioned in the GP preview show that came out this morning. Obviously, a bit of a delayed video, but obviously we apologise for that. So if you haven't seen it, go and check it out already for our GP preview show for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Now, another one is Williams. Now, we already have our opinions on Williams. about who could possibly drive for them next season, and we already did make our predictions as to who's going to drive for what team in 2018. And if you haven't seen it already, click that button now and obviously go over and watch our predictions and see if you agree with us or not. Now, the drivers who are linked with this seat, none of us have predicted. Me and Lau. I said Nasser, Lau said Alonso. So obviously the three drivers, let's say in the line in the frame to take that seat, to take the seat alongside Lance Stroll next season. Now obviously going down through the three, one of them is the current driver Felipe Massa, who is obviously still waiting his retirement. One day possibly, I don't know, maybe in 2020 maybe. The other driver is the test driver Paul di Resta, who already raced for the team this season when Massa fell ill at the Hungarian Grand Prix. He obviously he didn't do brilliantly there, but I mean, obviously from like a last minute thing to he did okay. Obviously you can't really say he did bad, of course. And the other driver is the Pole lad, Robert Kubica. I nearly said Paul the rest of that. Robert Kubica. Now Robert Kubica has been tipped for a return to Formula One in the foreseeable future, whether that's next season or the season after. Now obviously this team specifically was Renault, who he once drove for back in 2010 and was going to for Renault Lotus when they changed the name back in 2011, but unfortunately a rallying accident put a hold on his Formula 1 career. Now he's got to aim to come back into Formula 1. It will be an absolutely incredible achievement if he does come back into Formula 1. Maybe not as quick as what he once was, because he is getting on a bit, 32-year-old, maybe 31. However, I think he would earn a lot of respect in the Formula 1 paddock if he does come back. So obviously Renault, their seats are taken up now. Obviously one of them is Nico Hulkenberg, the other one is obviously Carlos Sainz. So really, it leaves Renault committed with very limited options. One of them is obviously Sauber, who obviously haven't confirmed any of their drivers. I think either Giovinazzi or Leclerc is at least going to get one of them. You've got some at McLaren, but likely I think Alonso is going to go there. If not, it'll be Lando Norris. So I don't think there's any there. And as far as I'm aware, I think that's everybody covered. There's one at Toro Rosso, but I think it's going to be Danny Kiva and Pierre Gasly. But anyways, obviously Williams, there's still one available. Now, Williams have said that I wouldn't say they've confirmed their interest in the possibility of trying to sign Robert Kubica. Now, I think he is due. I think he's going to do a private test in a Williams and maybe see how he gets on. Maybe even appear in some FP1 sessions. I really don't know. Highly unlikely, but obviously I wouldn't be surprised if they put him in the car for at least once or twice this season. Obviously, the other driver is Paul di Resta, the Scotsman, who hasn't had an official drive since 2013, since leaving Force India. So obviously, he hasn't had a proper chance, apart from Hungary, to drive the V6 era cars. More so is that obviously the more high adrenaline cars of 2017, and obviously going to be driving with the Halo cockpit design in 2018. So obviously Paul di Resta, of course he is going to be the likely favourite, obviously being a test driver as well. He's a pundit for Sky Sports as well. He knows the team very, very well, and he will become the first Brit since a very long time to go and drive for Williams. Obviously having a British driver in a Williams team who is basically bleeding British, of course. Frank Williams as well, Claire Williams, his daughter. So obviously the team is British, is there through and through. British world champion in Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill as well. So absolutely fantastic for them, anyways. So obviously to see him in there and to see him back after so many years out would be absolutely incredible. And Felipe Massa is obviously very, very likely, obviously a very strong candidate to be involved in the team, because he's got so much experience. He's done so much for the team. Lance Stroll, obviously he's learning from Lance Stroll, and Lance Stroll is learning from Massa. It's a brilliant combination. Obviously, shame that it was a bit of a shame that he did come back, because obviously his send-off was so emotional at the Brazilian Grand Prix, the penultimate round of last season of the 2016 season. It was an incredible one, and obviously he came back in Australia 2017, and we were all like, when you watch it back, you're like, really, was there any really need for that? But never mind. Anyways, obviously what's done is done, and obviously we move on. So obviously in my prediction, I did say Felipe Nasr. I'm very, very surprised that he's actually not even considered to be involved in this, because he did an interview with Sky Sports back at the start of the season, I believe, and he said that his ambition is to get a drive in 2018. Now, when we made our predictions, I was like, okay, right, Lance Stroll's there, I know he is, but who else could we? I don't want to say Massa because I don't think Massa's going to be. I was like, oh wait, hang on, Felipe Nasr, because he obviously 24-year-old. He's going to be 25 at the start of the 2018 season. Martini have said that they want the other driver to be 25 or over, very very key, and obviously Paul Di Resta and Robert Kubica fit that bill. So, and I thought, okay, you'll get involved in that. He wants to route back into Formula One. Obviously, he's been with Williams beforehand as well, so it makes sense for him, obviously, for him to go there. But obviously, unlikely chance it might not be. So, if I was to pick one of these drivers, I think it's going to be Massa. However, I want it to be Robert Kubica. I really, really do. I want to see Robert Kubica back in the world of Formula One. Whether that's with Williams, Renault, Haas, Toro Rosso, whoever, I want him, even maybe as a test driver, I want to see him back in the world of Formula One. But obviously, only Robert Kubica knows if he can come back or not, because obviously his damaged arm. I mean, I knew it was bad, but when I seen it for like real life, I was like, oh my word, that it does look really, really bad. So whether he can cope or not to have a full season during season in Formula One remains to be seen. But obviously, let us know who you think or who you want to be, either who you think or who you want to be in that seat for Williams next season. Leave your opinions in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, this is where I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching as well. We are going to set a subscribe target for the end of the season, which is going to be 300. So obviously we are at time of recording we were on 284. So if you have enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe if you're new around here as well. Catch our other videos as well, such as our Treat Me Preview Show, our Bailey Harrison Career Mode as well. Yes, guys, obviously we are doing a F1 2017 Career Mode under the name of Bailey Harrison, our made up driver in the world of F1 2017 on the game. British driver as well, driving for Sauber as well. Currently in round 7, I think, or round 8 of back, depending if we get an episode out. By the time this video goes out, so obviously you will have seen it in the I button at least, or in our recommendation videos. Go and check that out already as well. Obviously, leave your feedback there. Obviously, try and follow the world of Bailey Harris. But anyway, guys, we've been there from the Bait Show. And until next time, see you later.